is Kutemwa. Welcome to Acoustic Grace, and today we're looking at the number system. So I had to study for this video, but I'm very excited to share everything I have learned and I'm still learning with all of you. So firstly, why should you even care about the number system? Because in my opinion, it's a must for every musician. And firstly, because it's a universal way of expressing chords. So when we're learning songs, we normally learn them in the key that we're in. So if you know how to play a song in G, you know very well when to go to C, D, E minor, which is great. If you were to try to play that song in a different key, you must have to relearn the entire song and research what the chords, what, go through all this struggle to just translate it. However, if you were to express that in the number system, it gives you a very simple way to go across keys. For example, there's a song, God With Us by Jesus Culture, which I love. The progression is 1-4-6-4. So I'll go a little bit into that later in the video, how to find the numbers and so on. But for now, A is our 1, D is our 4, and then F sharp minor is our 6. So it would be God with us, God for us, nothing can come against, no one can stand between us. But I'll play the same song in D. Okay, D becomes my 1, okay? God with us, G is my 4, God for us, B minor, nothing can come against, no one can stand between us. So I can very easily translate that just by knowing what my 1, 4, 6 and then what the relationship between those numbers is, which is great. And that gives you the second advantage, which is that it allows you to find chords related to a specific key very easily without having to memorize. So when if I tell you, oh, play that same song in C sharp, which maybe you've never played before, you can easily count up and figure out, oh, this is my next chord and this is my next chord, which is really nice. And then the next thing that it does is that it gives you additional chords, right? So normally when we're playing songs, we stick to the 1, 4, 5, 6 in that in the number system, which I'll explain, like I said, a little later, right? So in our case, if we're in the key of A is our 1, and then D is our 4, and then E is our 5, and then F sharp minor is our 6. So you can virtually play any song with just like the 3 major chords and the 1 minor, which is nice. But then in addition to that, there's other numbers. As you would guess, if there's a 4, there has to be a 2 and a 3, and there also happens to be a 7, right? So the example song I like to use is No Higher Calling by Lenny LeBlanc. I also love that song very much. So if we're starting and we're just playing it with like the 1, 4, 5, 6, it would be there is no higher calling, no greater honor than to bow and kneel before your throne. If I were to add, it would be there is no higher calling, no greater honor than to bow and kneel before your throne. So in our case, we added A minor and B minor, which are not normally played in the key of G, but then they happen to be 2 and 3 using the scale that the number system reminds us of. Okay, so we have that, and I feel like even if you are like composing a song or trying to figure out progression and you hear a weird chord, just because you know that, oh, these are 2 and 3 and 7 in the scale, it kind of is a given that they may go together. Of course, it has to make sense in the progression, but it gives you like a palette that you can use as you are playing a song in a specific key, which is, I think, a step up. It's great. Okay, so then let's go into what is the number system. So let's take a step back and think of tones. So we have 12 tones. We have A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F sharp, G, and G sharp. So even if B and E don't have sharps, the distance between each of these tones is exactly the same. It's half a step, right? So we have like 12 half steps. And we know if we were to, we can basically place any pitch. It's more complicated than that, but let's say for now you can place any pitch in each of these like tones, right? And you know if you get to G sharp and you go a half step up, you are back to where you started with A. So what a scale does, and the number system is just a reminder, like it's a way to remember what a major scale is, right? So what a major scale does is that it takes 7 of those that go well together and kind of like places them together in ascending order based on the pitch. Don't mind the noise outside. Anyway, yes, it places them together based on the pitch. Okay, so you have 7 of them, and as you would guess, okay, so we have half steps, right? Ways of counting up. We can also potentially have a whole step which skips one and goes to the next. So if I tell you that, okay, there's 7 of these, and you probably already know what it sounds like if you know do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So we have do up to T, and then the higher do is the same as the beginning do, just on a higher octave. So we have that, okay? So if I was to tell you that, okay, when you're counting up in some order of whole steps and half steps, you have to get back to where you started on the 8th, right? We know the do is the same as the beginning do. there's no like, I guess, linear way to do it. Like if you were to count all half steps, you're not going to count 12 when you get to 8. If you were to do all whole steps, you would be 6 and you wouldn't get to the 8th being back to the 1. So this points to you having some weird combination of whole and half steps for you to be able to reach like 1 when you get to the 8, right? So it follows a pattern that is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And if you have to calculate that and like do multiplication, it gives you 12, which is great. So it does take you all the way back up to where you started, which is very nice. Okay, so we have that. Okay, so we're going to use A as our example just to bring all of that together. So let's say we are in the key of A. So whatever key we're in, that becomes our 1. So let's say A is our 1. So the first step is going to be a whole. So we're going to skip A sharp. Then B is our 2. Okay, then we're going to skip C. Then it comes C sharp. Then this becomes the half step. So after C sharp comes D. Okay, then we skip D sharp, go to E. Then we skip F and go to F sharp, and then we skip G and go to G sharp, and then by the time we are there, it's a half step. So that takes us back from G sharp to A, which is a half step, right? So it does take us back to the beginning. Very nice. So this gives us just the tones that would go in a specific position. But as you would guess, if I tell you it's just A, what is it? Is it A minor? Is it A major? A diminished? There's so many chords that A would be like the root for, or the tone that like I guess it originates from. So we also have to know what is the identity of the tone that is placed in a specific position, and it's going to be fixed based on the number. Okay, so if we have A, right, and we're starting from A as our home chord, 1 is always going to be a major if we are in a major scale. So if 1 is a major, 2 and 3 are minors, and then 4 and 5 are majors, and then 6 is also a minor, and 7 is diminished. So I had mentioned before that when we're normally playing, we use like 1, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 4, and 5 are like the 3 majors, and then 2, 3, and 6 are the minors. And we kind of did that in G when we were going, because then we had A minor and we had B minor. So we can go through like all the numbers, and then we have like the 7th, which is the diminished chord, right? So very nice. So just by doing that, we can figure out what the chords are, what the identities are. So we're going to practice with A, because it's the first anyway. Okay, so A. So we're starting from A major. Okay, we're going to have a whole step and go to a minor. So it's going to be B. We skipped A sharp, so that's Do, Re. Next one is going to be skip C, C sharp minor. Fa. Well, sorry. Do, Re, Mi. And then the next one is going to be half step but major. So Fa, and then skip a whole step to another major. So, and then skip another whole step to F sharp. La, and then T is going to be the 7th, and I had to learn what it is for this version. T, and then back to Do. So we have an example. Let's go through it. Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, T, Do. So we can figure that out, and that tells us that all the chords that you have played could go well in the key of A. Like I said, progression should make sense, of course, but then you already know what those numbers are. And if some random musician tells you, oh, the progression is just 1, 6, 4, you can very easily figure that out. So I want to first say the more that you do it, of course now we have to do a lot of mental math of like, oh, +2, +3. I still have to do that, but I can see improvement with time. So I think the more that you use it and practice the muscle, the better you get. So if you want to like get a song that you already know and like, oh, put it in a number system and then like change it to a different key, I feel like that's very good practice, because then you get quick, and then you also kind of get the factor of memorization. I've played in G so many times that I already know what the numbers are. So like the more that you do it, the better you get at it. But like even when you get to unfamiliar territory, you can still figure it out, which is a nice safety net to have. Okay, so we talked about what the number system is. And how to figure out what the chords are in the number system, and we've gone through an example. So the next thing is just, I guess, another tool that I think the number system gives us that I just wanted to share. I have notes because I'm like, oh, do it. Yes, so it also gives us relative chords. So I think I grew up hearing, oh yeah, like E minor is the minor for G, or like this is the minor for this, but I didn't fully understand what that meant. So I want to first explain a little bit about the minor scale. Don't worry, because when I heard minor scale, I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to go through this again and learn all the numbers and all the countings and blah blah blah. But it happens to be related to the major scale in a very good way. So So the difference between a minor scale and the major scale is that the minor scale starts from La, right? So we looked at the whole half and the identity of the numbers and stuff like that. So that still stays. What's associated with each number, right? Like one is major, whatever is minor. And also the steps in between, like 1 to 2, 2 to 3 remains whole half, except that we are starting at La, right? So that's the 6. So we're starting 6, 7, 8. So it'd be La, Ti, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La. So it goes from La all the way up, and the relationship between the numbers remain the same. Do with that what you will. But I'm saying that because if we were to relate G, right? So if we're in the key of G, for example, and we count up and we figure out what the identities of those chords are, which you already know because we looked at that, great. If you were to do the same thing for E minor and treat it as a minor scale and do the jumpings and treat it as like I said, the numbers retain like the jumps and also the identities of the chords, you would get the exact same identities. And maybe that can be an exercise. Try to do it for E minor. And we get the exact same like identities of chords for E minor that we get for G. Of course, it's a different order because we're starting from 6 and then going up from there, right? So that means that these two are related in a very special way because they all have the same, I don't know how else to put it, I guess they are related anyways. And so you can very easily substitute one for the other, right? And then if you look at the scale, so we said we have 3 minors, right? We have the 2, 3, and the 6, and then we have the 1, 4, and the 5. So the E minor is related to 1, which you've already said, so 1 and 6 are related. So it turns out that 2 and 4 are also related, and 3 and 5 are also related. So that's like the minor for the major, right? You can count through like that. And so you can sort of see like I was a math major, as you can tell. But yes, you can see like the mathematical relationship between these numbers in the scale, right? Because you're going from 2 to 4, 3 to 5. That's the same relationship as going from 6 to 8 because 8 is 1. So we're kind of skipping one number to go to the next. And if you think of the whole half thing and where things are placed, for you to get from let's use 2 to 4 as an example, it's 1.5 because it's whole half. So we have to go 1.5 steps forward to go from the minor to the major, or 1.5 steps backwards to go from the major to the minor. So if you were to play in a random key, like, I don't know, what key can I choose? Let's say C. Okay, so if C is your major and you want to figure out, what's the minor for C, you would count backwards. So minus a half step, that would be B, minus a half step, A sharp, minus a half step, that's A minor. So that's 3 half steps backwards, and you can easily figure out this is my minor. I don't know, I was so happy when I found that, so I just wanted to share it. I don't know if it's obvious, but yes, I was very happy. So anyway, that's how it works. And yeah, you have this whole palette of chords that you can use. So I want to practice with you guys. If you want to pause the video and do the exercise before we go through it together. And yes, so let's say, and there's something special that I want to show you, so this is not just like random practice. So let's say the key of C, which we already found ourselves in. So if you want to pause the video and kind of count through like, what are my chords going to be, feel free to do that. I think it's a great exercise, but we'll go through it together. So we have C, okay, so whole step would take us to D minor, and then whole step would take us to E minor, and then the next I love that this is happening because we're learning together. The next one would be F major, okay. After that would be G major. After that would be A minor, and then would be B diminished, which I don't know. I'm not going to lie. I didn't learn it for this video. Yes, but it's B diminished. Hallelujah. Okay, and then so we know that those are the chords. Okay, so if I was to tell you that there's this song called "Song of Freedom" by Hillsong, and the progression for that song is 1, 5, 6, 4 for the verse. Right, so we went through the numbers and we know what the 3 majors are and stuff, so we can easily figure out. Okay, so it's the song of freedom is on. It's 1, 5. It's 1, 5, 6, 4. That was the 4. Okay. Song of freedom is on my lips today. Did I switch? I'm so sorry. I'm misleading all of you guys. I'm sorry. Okay, let's go through the numbers. So it's 1, 5, 6, 4. Okay, so a song of freedom is on my lips today. So it goes like that, and the next line is the one I love today. And then it goes to 5, 6, 4. So all I can see is your mercy, and then 5, 6, 4. All I can feel is your grace. Now Now this song does something crazy because it jumps to A. Okay, so after that it goes, all I can see is your mercy. So it's the 6. All I can feel is your grace. Your love is so wonderful. So I'm trying to show you that in as much as you can figure out what the scale is, you can go outside of that in a way that makes sense. So this song does that. I love the song. I think it sounds very nice. It gives you like a more upbeat chorus, but it literally jumps to 3 chords that are not even related to the major that you're in, and it somehow makes sense. So anyway, that's Song of Freedom by Hillsong. If you want to like learn it, practice it, I think it's a great way to practice. So yes. And then the other one that I want to share is the one I played at the intro, if you remember. That was More Than What I Wanted by CC Winans. To go through the progression, I was starting with D minor, so it was then A sharp. So if I was to play in the key of F, and you can practice if you want to, like to figure out like, oh, where the numbers are and stuff. D minor is the 6, right? And then A sharp is the 4, and then C is the 5, right? So those are the 3 majors, and those are the only 3 majors you should have. But this progression includes A major, which is not even in the scale, right? So we go so it makes sense. It adds a very nice element to the song, but it's not in the scale. So yes, practice. Yes, know how to count up and figure out what the numbers are. But there are often times that even just going outside of the scale, and also the major scale and the minor scale are not the only scales. But yes, in as much as you are learning, don't restrict yourself to those. There's a whole world out there. Like if you want to learn how to play My Redeemer Lives, or you know how to play it already, you know that also jumps. That's My Redeemer Lives by Nicole Mullen. So it also like adds a chord that's not in the major scale. So yes, the world is your oyster. Go out and explore. Thanks for watching. I'm always open to suggestions for videos, so let me know. And also yeah, if you would want me to make a video on like something else that I said that maybe you want more detail on, happy to do that too. But yeah, also if barcodes are like hindering you from playing in all the keys, because this number system really opens the door to play in all the keys, right? So if barcodes are a hindrance, I have a video on barcodes and I will link it somewhere, yes, in this space. But yeah, thanks for watching.